All right. We're live and we're getting nothing on YouTube. What the heck? Please stand by. Okay. Why aren't we getting anything? Are we seeing anything? Let me check here. See if the technology's cooperating. Let's see what's happening. Well, it looks like it's trying to, but it's frozen. Well, looks like you. All right. Well, you know what? Look at that. It's not showing up here, but it's definitely showing up there. So we'll mute that. Welcome to Picks from Joe's Week 9 in the torture chamber of our Big 12 football season. We are definitely coming down the home stretch, limping, stumbling, just praying we get bowl eligible, thanking God that we have West Virginia, Kansas, and TCU on the schedule because that gives us the possibility. Anyway, so a couple teams have a bye week. A couple teams are off. West Virginia and Baylor are out this week. Um, uh, so slate. I think it's again. I know you can say nothing's ever an interesting slate. They actually are. Um, almost every week is interesting to some extent because it tells you something, hopefully, about whoever's playing. We have a nice kind of spread out schedule. So we've got the old noon start, or as everybody in Oklahoma likes to refer to it, the 11 a.m. start. Um, University of Oklahoma, the Sooners, that should just be their start time every week for every game because they get more of those. I swear to God, they get more of those than anybody. Excuse me. Let's see what we got here. So you got a noon game. You got two afternoon games, one of which is Oklahoma State. Then you have a 7 o'clock game, and these are all Eastern time. All the games on Maine should be Maine very viewable networks. So let's start you off. The early game, as we mentioned, it's number 5 University of Oklahoma at Kansas State. So K-State had kind of a good start. They beat Mississippi State. Everybody was kind of saying, beat an SEC team. Mississippi State's not very good, folks. They lost to Tennessee, and Tennessee sucks. I said this last week. So K-State got lathered up by OSU, and that should tell you right there they're not great. I fully expect OU, even though the game's in Manhattan, OU favored by 23.5. The over/under is 57.5. Please, I would take OU, lay the points and the over. I think OU scores a lot. K-State will score. They'll score a touchdown, 10 points, whatever. And I'll tell you right now, OU's going to score close to 50. Should anyway. So, I mean, that game is that game. OU should dominate, remain undefeated, and keep marching on towards, if they don't stumble, what should be a college football playoff appearance. 2 afternoon games. So you got a 3:30 Eastern. The OU game, by the way, is on ABC. Again at noon Eastern. 3:30 game. I'll talk about the Oklahoma State game last. The other 3:30 game is number 15 Texas at TCU. This will be on Fox. Fascinating game, I think. Fascinating game. Texas, they've only lost 2 games. Those 2 losses were to OU and to LSU, right? So 2 pretty big programs. But they struggled mightily against Kansas, if you can believe that, and needed a Dicker the kicker field goal as time expired to beat the Jayhawks in Austin. So I fully expect the line is Texas favored by 1 at TCU. Over/under's 56.5. Texas defense stinks. All right, 56.5. I mean, you're talking, 30, 28, 32, 24. I think that's probably pretty reasonable. I'd probably stay away from the over/under. Texas wins the game. I just don't see how. I'd say Kansas has better offense than TCU, but TCU will have, I don't know. Their defense hasn't been great this year, which is uncharacteristic. Texas wins the game. I'd take Texas to. I mean, this a line of 1 is essentially a toss-up, right? Almost. So I would take Texas outright win and cover easily. Over/under feels a little weird. I might go under there. I wouldn't necessarily expect a boatload of points to get scored. I don't know, 56, 30, 26. Texas defense sucks. I'd stay away from that over/under. Texas wins and covers. And then we have a 7 o'clock game that'll be on FS1. Texas Tech at Kansas. I think this has got intrigue written all over it. Okay, I honestly, if I'm looking at this game, okay, I think this is going to be high scoring, 64.5. I feel pretty confident here taking Kansas and the points. Texas Tech's only favored by 5. I think Kansas can win this game. I would take Kansas and the points, and I think I'd take the over in that game. That I think could be fascinating watching right there on FS1 on Saturday night. Meanwhile, I'm sorry about all the yawning. It's Friday afternoon. I've had a really busy work week working from home. and man, am I running out of gas. Can't wait for the day to be over. I'm heading to meeting one of my golf buddies at an Oktoberfest thing up at the Nature Museum here in Stamford, Connecticut. And then I think once that's done, we may be one of my other golf buddies. He's having to work late in New York City tonight, but should get back in time once the Oktoberfest thing ends at 9 or 9:30. we're gonna find someplace in town to meet up. So we might get a little banged up tonight. We're Ubering everywhere. So can't wait for that to get going. Meanwhile, Oklahoma State travels to Ames. I have to say, this is OSU playing in Ames is quite literally the least desirable road game of the season from my perspective. Ames is just Ames is just a tough place to play, man. Has bad memories. Uh, I don't know, and I feel like everything about how these teams match up just doesn't bode well for OSU. OSU's offense generally thrives on busting some bigger plays. I wouldn't say they're just a big play offense, but they thrive on busting bigger plays. Iowa State's defense is good at combating that. Iowa State's offense is good at busting big plays. Our defense is horrible at giving up big plays. I just don't like the setup. I think this is tailor-made for Iowa State to win. I'd say like a blowout, but I think they win easily. I think OSU will struggle. They could get out fast, don't get me wrong, but I think by the time you get to the fourth quarter, OSU will be late third and into the fourth. OSU will be struggling to keep up. They'll be down, a couple of scores, constantly trying to score and then get a stop and score and then get a stop, right? So I don't see this being a good trip for the Cowboys. The line started at 6.5 and quickly moved to 10.5 points. Iowa State laying 10.5. That's a pretty big number. OSU historically is a pretty good road dog, but right now I don't think good. Not great. Over under 63.5. 33-30. That's low. I'd probably take the over. I'd probably take the over on that. I mean, I could see a 42-24 type game, 42-28 type game. I think the over could be pretty safe, but I think Iowa State wins by more than 10. I feel like they'll win by a couple touchdowns. Could be wrong. Hope I'm wrong. But let me delve into some of my thought. This has been a tough week. Coming off that loss last week, I was in an effing foul mood. Anybody that knows me knows I've got a drawer full of OSU stuff. My wife would tell you I wear OSU stuff every single day. I did not wear any OSU stuff on Sunday or Monday. It took me to Tuesday to start reapplying my Oklahoma State wares. Just to whip through a few points here. All right. For people saying Gundy has lost a step, I don't think he's lost anything. I don't think Gundy has lost anything. I think Gundy is a good coach, right? He's as good a coach as Oklahoma State's ever had. I think Boone Pickens and his generosity, Mike Holder to some degree, gave Gundy a boost in accomplishing things. But I think the really the two greatest seasons in the history of the school, that magical thing that made us think that maybe we've turned a corner, was more luck than Mike Gundy. Okay? Granted, the program was improving, but I think Oklahoma State is a 9-10 win program year in and year out. That's it. They are, unless you catch lightning in a bottle, get lucky again. Oklahoma State's not a college football playoff contender. You might, in the right year, stumble around and be in contention for a Big 12 title. But I think that year in and year out, barring a little luck, year in and year out, that's the ceiling. I don't think that's an unreasonable ceiling. I think Mike Gundy is capable of keeping OSU at a level where that ceiling is attainable. That being said, the Brandon Weeden, I said this before, Brandon Weeden was luck. That was luck, people. He was not recruited. He was a walk-on. They tried to run him off. Gundy admits they tried to, they busted on him, tried to run him off. And he didn't get a chance to show anything until he was a horrible practice player because, why was he going to work hard? 27-year-old guy. Why was he going to work hard in practice if he's barely getting snaps as a third, fourth string guy? And it took that awful first half against Colorado in 09 by Alex Cate. It basically forced Gundy's hand. All right, forced Gundy to make that move. And the rest is history. Well, look what you had happen. I will say Gundy was smart enough, and Dana Holgorsen was available, and that was the perfect match for Weeden's skills. Justin Blackman, look what happened. I mean, who could have forecasted him turning into a beast? And Holgorsen jumped ship, and Gundy got the person who I think is the best offensive coordinator Oklahoma State's ever had. And that was Todd Monken. Because what Todd Monken did, not in 2011, but what he did in 2012 was next level. Because one of our other points here, and again, it's been brought up in a couple of, in podcasts, Tape Doesn't Lie talked about it. Especially these days in the Big 12, the quarterback is everything. I mean, if you're not going to have a shutdown defense, like Oklahoma State had, the defense in 2013 was the best, maybe one of the best ever in the history of the school, much less in Gundy's tenure. And it's not even close in Gundy's tenure. No defense has even been remotely close to that 2013 defense. But that 2012 offense and what Todd Monken was able to do, going back and forth, but shuffling three quarterbacks, all right, and fashioning an 8-5 season. What'd they end up? They ended up, Oklahoma State ended up 7-5, and I think one. They ended up. I don't have to look. They ended up 7-5 for the season, and then won their bowl game. So I just don't understand why don't understand. I can conjecture why we are where we are. And a lot of it has to do with, how Gundy wants to run his program. He doesn't like to have position coaches that, won't listen to him. And Holgorsen and Monken didn't care what Gundy thought. They were going to go do their thing. And also, they're good, right? And so they're going to move on because Oklahoma State's not a destination job for them. And so Gundy's got to go back out and hire again. Well, he doesn't want to have to keep doing that. He wants guys to come here and stay here for a few years. So he ends up getting Yursich. Now he's got Gleason. Those guys will be, Yursich was here 6 years. And I think without question, you could say Yursich was a heck of a quarterback's coach. He was a really good quarterback's coach. I don't think you can argue that. We can discuss the offensive coordinator stuff all day, but I don't think any question Yursich is a very good quarterback coach. The jury's out on Gleason. We'll see what happens. But again, so much of what he does is run through the filter of Gundy. One of the biggest issues you have, and it all gets really exposed by the quarterback thing, because quarterback is you're going to live and die with that in Big 12 play. Uh, so the issue with the quarterbacks in the Big 12 is, unless you catch, sure enough, a kid who steps in like a Brock Purdy, okay, at Iowa State. Kid steps in as a freshman last year. They're running the whole offense. They're not messing around. They're running the whole offense, and that kid did great. I mean, they rolled him out against us, and we got drilled. Unless you get that, you're gonna have a down year or two while your quarterback develops. So generally speaking, the perfect cycle for most folks, the perfect cycle would be this: that you get a quarterback who comes in, you recruit a kid. He sits for the most part for the first 2 years, gets mop-up duty, that type of stuff. And then year 3, okay, while you've got 2 years of a sure enough good, whether he's a sophomore and a junior and he leaves, or he's a junior and a senior, you get sure enough 2 good years out of an experienced veteran starter, okay? Because he's been around the program, he knows what's going on, he's mature enough, he can handle it. So if you get into that cycle where essentially every 2 years you're rolling out a new starter, but that guy's been in the program a couple of years, right? Well, that's great in an ideal world, but that doesn't happen, right? Especially for schools like an Iowa State or an Oklahoma State or even a TCU or Texas Tech, Kansas State. You're gonna hit that guy who's good, right? And he's gonna run and do his stuff, and he ends up being your starter for 3 years. Well, in the meantime, you're trying to recruit, right? You're trying to find that guy, that next guy. And you end up in a situation where the senior graduates, and your best player, the guy you can roll out there that's got the most talent at quarterback, is a redshirt freshman, or another redshirt sophomore, maybe, or a true sophomore. And he hasn't been in the program that long, and that year, but the year between sophomore and junior is a big deal, and that's where you are with Oklahoma State. So the challenge, and I go back with this, the challenge for any of us, mid-level programs, right? We're not blue blood Power 5 programs. You have to develop talent. Right? You got to recruit kids who you can turn into better players. The most part, the kids that are going to walk in ready to play are going to the bigger programs, right? Not all of them, but a lot of them. And falling back on my experience being a coach, teacher, trainer, I can tell you, in the game of golf, you're either developing or working on your swing, or you're out there playing your best golf. You're not doing both of those at the same time. Okay? So, because I'll never forget just changing my grip. The pro changed my grip when I was in junior college, when I went back to school. And he changed my grip the spring of my first year. He changed me from a 10-finger, not a baseball grip, okay, not a baseball grip, but a 10-finger grip like this, no overlap or interlock. And I went from this to an overlap, the Varden grip. All right? That took me almost a full year. It wasn't until the spring of the next year that I really started to settle back down and play, right? And play better. You're either developing or you're winning. If you're not Bama or OU or whoever, those teams can get away with doing both because of the level of talent you have across the board. All right? Most of these other programs aren't doing that. All right? You've got to have the right talent in the right places. So you protect the talent you're trying to develop. Okay. Well, if the talent you're trying to develop is talent that can play in other places, but that you just need to develop them because they're not where your program needs them to be. Again, the kids you get, it matters. But if you're Oklahoma State, if you don't have that next guy kind of lined up ready to go, and quarterback's a hard position to do that with, then for OSU, you're going to have that 1 or 2 years where you're developing. That's what you're doing. You're developing, and so you're just trying to survive. For Oklahoma State, it's get bowl eligible. That's really the biggest deal. I think that's a standard by which fans shouldn't have any tolerance for anything less than that. There's no reason Oklahoma State shouldn't be a bowl eligible team every year. Okay, every season. Under Gundy, that just shouldn't be a question. And meanwhile now you're going on 2 straight seasons where Oklahoma State is struggling to get bowl eligible, not getting bowl eligible till the last few games of the season. That's not good. Okay, and that I think is going to be your constant challenge with Gundy, because Gundy is more than comfortable developing. He'll burn 1 or 2 seasons developing over making decisions to win. Now, one of the things that we use to, kind of the stick we're hammering him with, to say, well, you're choosing to develop versus win now, has been Drew Brown and Spencer Sanders. Well, that gets tempered a little bit because, as we know, Drew Brown's injured, and it's a somewhat significant injury. Left hand's been in some type of a cast. It's been talked about on various podcasts. Tape doesn't lie. It's been in our Slack chat. Saw it in the game. He came in there at the end against Baylor. When they said Sanders just got his bell rung a little bit, and they said, why take a chance? And so anyway, now they really don't have a choice, right? Now we don't know how long that injury's been out there, but as it stands now, you really don't have a choice. It's Spencer Sanders, or what are you going to have to roll out Brendan Costello? That'd be interesting. So I think what's happening right now is you're also getting a compounding of issues, right? So, all right, you're developing the quarterback, and the quarterback's going to make mistakes. Even your good quarterback, Brandon Weeden made mistakes, but Sanders is going to make mistakes that are the mistakes of an inexperienced QB. Fine. The problem you've got is that's getting compounded by other mistakes. Okay, uncharacteristic mistakes. Penalties is one thing, but LD Brown missing a blitz block with a young quarterback who hasn't learned how to protect the football. Boom. Right? Compounding the error. He makes a good play, makes a good read, makes a great throw. Tylan Wallace drops the ball. Doesn't happen. He underthrows the fade pass, but McCray doesn't run his route properly, and doesn't fight back for the ball. Right, he's out of position to really fight back for the ball. So you're getting the injuries on the offensive line, right? Putting more pressure on Sanders, exposing the inexperience. So, what are you going to do? Nothing to be done. We just have to hope that Sanders develops. Drew Brown's not going anywhere. You think he's going to stick around? He's only played in. Has he only played in 2 games this year? He's only played in 2 games this year. Then, what is he? He's still. I guess he's done. He can't redshirt again. Maybe they could claim with. I don't know if they'd be able to claim the medical with the injury to the hand. Maybe I don't know, but Drew Brown, I mean, this is his year, and then I presume he's done. He's gone. So then what are you looking at next year? You're going to have, if Shane Illingworth sticks to his commitment, you're going to have Brendan Costello, Shane Illingworth, and Spencer Sanders. I can just flat guarantee you Spencer Sanders will end up being your starting quarterback next year, right? For no other reason than he understands the offense, right? You're going to have these other guys coming in who aren't going to have the snaps that Gundy doesn't trust. So guess what? There you go. You want to look back on Baylor? Defense did enough to win the game. I know they give up big plays. The thing that bothers me is it feels like the defense does one of two things. It feels like they either start with a great game plan and then are unable to adjust, right? Baylor made adjustments, clearly, and OSU didn't adjust. So they're either starting with a good game plan and they can't adjust, or they come in with a crappy game plan, they're getting blown out of the water, and they make great adjustments in the second half, but we're already in trouble. So it's like, what the heck is going on with that? I can't figure out. I really need to see LD Brown and another back get at least 10 to 15 carries this week. At least 10 to 15 carries, touches. Well, and it's carries because they don't throw the ball to Chuba Hubbard out of the backfield. All right. You got to dial Chuba's, you got to dial him back. At least 10 touches a game. You got to dial him back. If they don't, I think if Chuba continues to do what he's doing, I can almost guarantee you he's gone to the NFL. Because he will be on everybody's radar. The lifespan of a running back is short. His chance to cash that check is not, it's the window is not big. I think if that guy's got his chance to go, he's healthy, and I think he goes. Tylan Wallace is not having nearly the season he had last year. Some of that is because of the limitations of your QB. But I would say, as an OSU fan, you need to walk into next season with the expectation that both Hubbard and Wallace will be gone. Because I don't know that either one of them have a reason to come back and prove anything. I think Wallace's issues this year are stem more from Sanders being the QB than his performance, his own individual effort. And if I'm Chuba, why come back and take that beating again? I mean, so that it was good to see LD Brown do what he did. He needs to continue, and I'd like to see them get, Demarius Jackson. Use those two guys to get them carries. Get at least 10 to 15 carries off of Chuba's back. Come on. I don't know about anybody else. I was shocked at how physical the refs allowed Baylor to play on defense against the wide receivers, the D-backs. That was kind of shocking, actually. You see it in the NFL sometimes. You get a guy who has a reputation of being a really good shutdown corner. Well, as it turns out, the league allows that guy to play a little more physical than other people. Listen, I don't mind the physical play if that's the way you call it all the time, but they don't. The pass interference, holding, and all that stuff. Rodarius Williams and A.J. Green both got chipped with penalties, which you go back and look at and go, really? You could find half a dozen at least Baylor plays that were 10 times worse. So it's not whining about, whoa, is Oklahoma State and the officials. I'm just saying, officiating from game to game can be so inconsistent in how certain types of things like that are called. Offensive holding's another one that's just so inconsistent with how people call it. That can be tough to deal with. The last thing I want to talk about, and I want to talk about Gundy's Monday press conference. Man, was that good, Gundy. I don't mind that he said what he said about the fans. He wasn't calling the fans out. You're going to complain? He said, hey, you're going to complain, but keep coming to the games. You got to come support the team. Um, and he's absolutely right. Listen, if I lived there, I could bitch and moan all I want. I'd still go to the games. I'd still be there. Every home game, I would cherry pick some games to travel to. If the team's doing really well, I would travel more. But he's absolutely right. I thought that you know, I've always been a proponent of honest coach is the best coach. And in Gundy's case, I think that's especially true. Get away from all the coach speak nonsense. All right? Tell it like it is. Tell us, Drew, look, Sanders was having a rough game, and there was a brief discussion of whether or not we wanted to give him a break and roll Drew Brown out there, but Drew's battling a hand injury right now, and we just thought that wouldn't be the best thing. Okay? Say that. Why not say that? That doesn't bother anything. Okay? It's not like you're keeping a secret from other teams. I guarantee you, other teams will be aware that Drew Brown's got a cast on his hand. Okay? And they're preparing for Spencer Sanders anyway. So, it's just be honest. Okay? Say, look, we were going to do some change up in the game plan, but we just can't. And it's, Spencer's doing a great job, but he's still very limited in what he can digest with the offense. And we just can't do it. And he's our guy. He has said that. Gundy has said that to a great degree. But I just would like him to be way more forthright when talking about the challenges and the struggles. I loved him saying, look, we made some bad coaching decisions. Okay. He didn't call any names out, and that's good. I don't want to embarrass anybody there on live TV, but hey, look, we made some poor decisions. We told the players that we didn't put them in the right spots, and so just being forthright in front of the fans, to me, with a coach like Gundy, fine, I can live with that all day long. If he just turns into a bitchy, crabby old dude who doesn't want to talk to anybody, that's no fun. That's where you're really going to lose people, and people are going to stop supporting the program. I mean, Gundy clearly cared. There's clearly some passion still there, right? So, do I think there was I think Bill Haston made a comment on Twitter about, Gundy feeling like he's a little, he's got not panic mode, but necessarily, but this is kind of a certain situation here that requires a little more energy, or is just forcing a little bit different energy from coach. I think he's absolutely right. I think Gundy looks at it and goes, holy crap, I don't know if we can get bowl eligible. And that's a big deal. They talk about it all the time, how bowl eligibility and those extra practices are huge in a team's development going into the next season. So I would much rather be blunt and honest, in those moments. Love the candor about either playing a video game or his son's busting his chops about the game, about the team. I think that's good stuff. Hey, we've got a week from today, basketball starts. OSU has a exhibition against Rogers State, and it'll be broadcast on ESPN Plus. And then they start a few days later, start the season with Oral Roberts. So interesting. I am going to be attending when they come up to play Syracuse on November 27th at the preseason NIT tournament at Tip-Off Classic or whatever the hell they're calling it over at Barclays Center here in Brooklyn. I am going to be there. Bought the wife. She didn't have any Syracuse stuff, so I bought her this Syracuse pullover she really likes. So we'll end up going to the game. She'll like that. We'll have a good time at that. Can't wait to see the basketball team in action. Looking forward to that. Outside of that, I'll close with this. Have my wager this week. Any of you on Twitter, you may have seen it. A wager with Vegas Cyclown. We are wagering a bottle of Glenlivet 14 Scotch, value of basically $55. I think $54.99. And I went for the win-win scenario. I took Iowa State and laid the points. And as Vegas Cyclown said, this is a win for both of us. Because if he wins the bet, then OSU has kept it close. It's been an entertaining game. No, if he wins the bet, if he wins the bet, OSU kept it close or maybe won. And I get a bottle of, or he gets a bottle of scotch to soothe his. No, I get, yeah, he wins the bet, so he would get the bottle of scotch. If I win the bet, that means Iowa State blew him out. He'll be happy and he'll get a bottle of scotch. So look, it'll be whatever it is. Or no, I'll get the bottle of scotch. Sorry, because I'm taking Iowa State and laying the points. So it's a win-win no matter what. You either get a good bottle of scotch or your team wins. Pretty good. So we'll see how that works out. Anyway, everybody travel safe. I'm sure there's some of you that are headed to Ames. Be safe. Enjoy. I hear the weather's going to be nice. It's going to be a great day for football in Ames, Iowa, despite the fact that's just a horrible place for Oklahoma State to go play. Too many bad memories. Anyway, everybody enjoy. Have a great and safe weekend. Go Pokes. We'll talk to you next week.